Taste tulip?
No, it's just a weird shirt.
Oh. I like that too.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess I've committed to the sock being here.
Yeah, I started recording, so it's happening now.
Oh, good.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even notice. Getting too comfortable.
Surprise!
Well, I guess we should probably start this podcast then.
I guess so. Okay. Well, in any case, this week's podcast is brought to you by being a decent human being and not fucking over freelance creatives, and also espresso machines.
This week's podcast is also brought to you by Snow Routes and...
Oh! Was that a monster that I do see? Hell yeah. Monster Mule. Did you ever see, God, was it a YouTube video or was this like a Facebook meme where woman was trying to, it was a video. This woman had like a booth and she was trying to explain how Monster drinks were like controlled by Satan. You've seen that? Okay. Good. I'm glad I didn't dream it.
And I'm your other host, Jesse James.
Oh yeah, sorry. I don't think I ever said my name. I'm Madison, by the way.
That works. So, I have seen that lady. And it's the craziest shit ever. The Monster energy drinks are like, it's, you flip the M upside down and it makes a 666. I think that's part of it too.
Something
yeah.
like that.
I'm not even a huge fan of Monster, but if you look here, not only is it a Moscow Mule, and I had one of these before, it does taste a lot like that. It also has a bullet on the top.
Yeah.
So there's that.
It's like the Wild West of energy drinks.
Yeah. And they're on sale, which is how I actually determine how I buy these. But partially I wanted to buy a regular Monster, like the green regular ass can, because I never liked Monster or drank very much of it, but the Death Stranding in-game advertising of always having like 5 sweaty cans of Monster that are incredibly high resolution in your like weird cyber apartment is a very effective way to do it. Mm-hmm. They also showcase Norman Reedus just slamming them when you drink them. It's pretty good. If
That's
I can
what
find
dreams are made of, is Norman Reedus slamming monsters.
Monster. Yeah, also SFW, is that the... Oh, what's the...
NSFW?
No. SW... I'm not a very good nerd, I guess. There's a sort of outdated like Steam like posing video system, and I think it's I can't remember. All the acronyms I think of don't sound right, so I'll just leave it. But it's what people use to take models out of everything and then make them fuck. So something, a joke about Norman Reedus slamming monsters, that's guaranteed to be on the internet, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Everybody likes it.
Everybody wants it.
Mm-hmm. Also, this Monster has like more sugar in it than you would even think.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's more than enough for quite a while. So
can't handle those.
No, you shouldn't. I really shouldn't handle these, but I had sort of a weird throat this morning, so I figured the immense amount of sugar would glide through the podcast.
Yeah.
So you just got an espresso machine?
Yeah, I'm
So
fancy now.
I'm pretty excited about this because coffee is a big part of my life. What are your plans?
Oh my God, where to start? Well, first of all, I'm devoting most of my time to latte art now. That's
Good.
just what all I'm gonna do because there's a milk steaming thing on it. Um, that's gonna take me a really long time to figure out or get the hang of.
Have you done espresso before?
Like a really long time. I think when I was in high school, my dad had an espresso machine and like showed me how to do it.
Okay.
But that was like 7 years ago or something like that, so I can't really remember. But I think technically what I made this morning would be classified as like a cappuccino because it was just like a little bit of espresso and then like mostly milk. Or is that a
Okay.
latte? I don't know.
The secret is it's all kind of the same thing. But yeah, what you're describing is probably a cappuccino.
Okay. Yeah, it was.
Um,
I went a little overboard on the frothing of the milk, so it was like this much foam, like a lot, mostly foam.
okay, yeah, so you made a dry cappuccino. That's
Yeah.
uh, my family is sort of a weird coffee family. My dad has made coffee and had an espresso machine of some kind ever since I can remember. My godfather has his own coffee business, which is where most of my dad's coffee comes from now, because
Oh, cool.
he doesn't have a taste for most of the other coffees that are like local unless they're like really well made. Are you watching The Shadows?
I heard I was watching or listening to the noise that unofficial third member of the
Or
podcast is making.
uh, the unofficial third member of the podcast is mostly a ghost that haunts the backgrounds of Madison's video.
He likes to close doors and turn on sinks.
Uh-huh. And occasionally sing or make pirate noises.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Um, Also, I think we can start acknowledging the video part more as we get closer to putting the stuff online, because it's going to be in video form in a lot of the ways that it's easily accessible.
Yeah.
At the end, we will give people our email, and when people start seeing this, they now have the option to ask us questions directly. Also, if they want to say like really mean stuff to me, they can do that too, or like just hideous like sexual things at me.
Oh yeah.
I'm into that. I always
I'll
like
just
reading
give
it.
you my phone number for that.
So yeah, just send everything, and that's what we want.
I just want everything. Please don't filter yourselves.
um, I mean, that is a good warning in case everybody listening to this is related to us. But yeah, so I got way too much training on coffee early, just kind of by osmosis. And then when I was 12, 13, I got taken to the Seattle, it's like International Coffee Convention, Tea and Coffee Convention. And I had more shots than I was old in like a 2-hour period, and just went like fucking crazy. Like
Yeah.
I was like, I felt like I was 1,000 degrees, and it was like I was on just hard drugs. Like I was like, I gotta take my clothes off. And then after that, I was pretty okay with coffee. Like it never really affected
It
me.
just broke you.
Yeah.
All in one day.
But that
That's
was pretty
funny.
fun. That was a good way to do it.
That reminds me of this is a very stupid reference, but do you know the movie Over the Hedge?
Yeah.
You know the part when the squirrel Hammy drinks a monster drink, and because he's a squirrel, and he's already like the character is already acting like it's on cocaine the whole time, and then it has a monster drink, and the world just slows down to like time stops. That's what you just said reminded me of.
Yeah, it wouldn't be that different. Though at that age, I also had like a lethargic depression going, so I
Oh,
probably didn't seem that out of sorts to most people.
yeah. Well, that sounds like a fun day.
Yeah, I got to try a lot of good coffee.
Yeah, so that's what I'm looking forward to experiencing with my new espresso maker.
Just remember when you start pulling shots to taste the shots as you go, and like it is actually kind of a good idea to like taste them and spit them out for a while when you're first starting so you get the timing down, or else you're just going to be drinking a bunch of like scorched coffee, which isn't really that fun. That monster noise was good though.
It was really good.
That actually, that's the sound you want to hear when you get it close to the bottom for the steamer, but not
Yeah.
touching the bottom. You want that noise.
Good to know. I'll keep that in mind.
Well, I'm very happy for you. You guys have a lot more to love over there now.
I know.
Another, another entity over in that house that is going to really be a gift to the world.
It really is, and I just feel like a new person who now has access to espresso in their own home. So, yeah.
Well, now you never have to leave. Now you just exist in your house forever.
Yeah, actually, now I do not have an excuse to leave.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's what I always wanted.
It's great.
It's great.
Speaking of staying in your house forever, I had something I was going to talk about last week and didn't, and it kind of during this week in the Seattle area, we've been like snowed in, and it's been not as bad as I imagine over there has been, but it's been a pain in the ass. Nobody can drive or operate their own human bodies normally when it gets cold in this area. So it just kind of been sitting in the back of my head, causing a lot of hate. And that is, I stumbled onto people's, I guess, in their excitement for a League of Legends movie at some point, they keep cutting together cinematics from League of Legends into movie trailers. And it's the worst fucking thing I've ever seen. None of those characters are like fleshed out enough for that. None of the designs are like especially unique or good.
Yeah.
And all of the like implied storylines are incredibly generic because it's a MOBA.
I don't know what you mean.
Yeah.
All of the characters are very unique and each have a very detailed and specific lore that's definitely not taken or lifted from other existing games.
Of course. And it's really tough to watch. It feels like another take on the like how can we put Coldplay and Vegeta together to make a video that like we can masturbate to, I guess. I don't know what they're trying to do. I'm sure that it has something to do with impressing somebody, but I don't know who.
Huh. I'm really surprised I haven't heard anything about this because all that shit is right up my alley. So I
don't look for it. It's gonna make you upset.
Will it? Okay.
Probably.
I have to say that, and I am not impartial because I play League of Legends. No, I haven't actually for like a month or something, which is a long time.
God.
But I know again, new person. But I actually in the past have not disliked. I think their cinematics are pretty interesting. I mean, they're not like I don't know. None of their ideas seem incredibly new, but I do like their animation and their, I don't know, some of their like music scores, I guess. They do a good job sometimes of making it interesting to watch, at least. But
I think that my problem with it, coming from the up their own ass artist perspective, is that there's a lot of like incredibly derivative ideas that are treated. If they were just derivative, that would be fine. Like, I can watch Plants vs Zombies shit and feel like, sure, yeah, that it's garbage, but like they're kind of going nuts with the design and trying something, even if it's bad something.
mm-hmm.
Even things like oh shit, there's a like a pachinko game that people made. I think it's a PopCap game also, that is just a shitty unicorn, and then you like shoot marbles and stuff. And it's, again, it's garbage, but like the design is so like just going with the garbage. Like,
Yeah.
instead of like trying to spread it out and making it look nice, they goop up the garbage real good, and it is that. I think my problem with the design ethic of League of Legends is that they have a lot of ideas, and those ideas are like, how can we sell this? And if they went more 100% into that and had like, this goblin with a bomb just is dressed up like an executive and shits money and whatever, like, that would be fine. Or characters that are almost worse would be okay, but because they all look like they could be in an Overwatch game that came out of like another country, it just feels more derivative. And then seeing the fan community come together to make cuts of their cinematics into fake movies that have no storyline because they're cutting different cinematics together is rough. I think they need to get the guy who did that Tommy Wiseau and Star Wars video to get on it.
Yeah, please. That was so good. I for a second I was watching that and I'm like, did they get Tommy Wiseau to just do it again? But then I saw like the mom in there and I was like, oh, okay. It's just edited. But yeah, that was really impressive.
Yeah, like the green screen style cuts, like they clearly went in and photoshopped like around all the pieces. And some of the edge finding is really good. You can see little bits, but like nothing that tracks from like a distance.
Like when they're force throwing the football. That was really good.
Also more emotional and compelling than the original prequel trilogy. So
yeah. Yep.
And they added the appropriate sexy music to Kylo Ren shirtless.
That's what was missing.
That's probably my favorite, in like putting the disco ball in the background.
That's what it needed. I think that's what the last couple ones needed. It's just a disco ball.
More trash. Yeah, more trash would be good.
Yeah. You gotta really commit to the trash.
I don't know if it's the snow, but our connection is amazing. So if people get some weird effects on this video, that could be coming from my end. It's hard to say.
Are you talking about lag?
A little bit of lag and a little bit of like extra video action. So we'll see if that picks up in the recording or not.
I have not actually watched through any of our recordings because I don't want to listen to myself. But I'm curious to see how it goes because occasionally you will lag out. And then on my end, my computer like speeds up your audio and video for about 2 seconds to like catch up.
I haven't seen any of that yet. I've gone in and like checked bits of it, but I mean, that's just part of our editing procedure so far. Maybe in the future, if we get money from this, we'll change it, but we're not going to change it for
No,
free.
never. Definitely not. I really like, I feel like most of the people, podcasters that I listen to have said to, I don't know, interviewers or something, that they've never actually listened to their own podcast.
Yeah, that's
And
pretty
I feel
standard.
like that's what I want.
I mean, that is pretty much how I would do things if we had somebody who was actually like editing for us or something. But I feel like I have to check it because even if I hate the sound of my own voice, it's going to exist. So like, may as well.
That's true. Yeah. Might as well make sure it actually works, you know.
I've definitely listened to some like fairly professional podcasts where the audio is completely fucked in the middle, and
Mhm.
it's still released. So obviously, other people are doing the same thing, uh,
Yeah.
and that's
There
fine.
yeah, there actually kind of recently, maybe a couple weeks ago, there was a MFM episode that was like live and the audio was so completely I couldn't listen to it.
Yeah,
It like hurt. But it makes me feel better.
yeah,
Yeah.
and they didn't get a lot of blowback from that, from what I could tell. So,
I didn't see anything, so yeah, I think we're good.
well, I think I'm done bagging on the LOL community. I don't actually hate LOL or the community, but I do dislike elevating certain things that are already making a lot of money and haven't had that much effort put in parts of it.
Yeah.
So
That don't need
until
the help.
until they start producing amazing work with the amount of money they make, or just get rid of most of their money, that would be fine too. I'll probably be pretty anti their whole thing. It's like what happened with
That's fair.
Blizzard. I loved Blizzard when it was kind of rich and making interesting games, and then they just turned into real fuckwads after a while.
I don't know. I guess okay, so if we're going to try and shed some uh not light, I don't know, give some exposure to something that's not as rich, I would say actually I don't know if this company is big or not, but I've been playing Don't Starve pretty much nonstop
Oh
for the
yeah,
last week.
what that's made by like
Clay
Clio, I thought. Yeah.
something.
Uh, Don't Starve is an easy enough thing to find, though.
Yeah.
It's on phones and consoles and
Oh, it's
computers.
on
So.
phones?
There's a version that is
Mhm.
on like handheld device. I'm pretty sure.
I want that. I might actually have that and just forgotten about it. But I really
Oh,
like that game.
I think you might have had that because it might have been you who was playing it at work at one point on a phone.
That sounds accurate.
Yeah. Um, no, that game's great. I still haven't gotten super far into it, but I know that it has like pretty consistent updates where it's getting more content and stuff like that.
Yeah, right now there's a bunch of like Christmas themed stuff, but I'm really bad at it. I can't make it through the first winter,
Yeah.
which is like 10 days long. I haven't. I think the longest I've been alive is like 22 days, which is pretty bad.
Have you ever tried adjusting the game settings before you start?
I have, but for some reason, I don't know what the deal is with my game, but for some reason, a lot of the settings when I go to like create my own server are grayed out and I can't change them.
Okay.
So I don't know why that is. It's probably just something I'm doing wrong, but I like the challenge, but I dislike having to start over every single time I play.
Yeah, if you check and see an option for like an offline game, if you're playing online, that might help.
Oh, maybe that's it.
Because I've guessing online is going to restrict your ability to change shit.
Yeah, that makes sense. So maybe I can actually survive in the offline version.
Yeah, well, I think the last time I was playing, I accidentally tried to chop a tree down that ended up being a giant tree monster, and then it chased me for like 20 minutes.
With me.
Yeah.
That's okay. I was so mad about that because I had gotten that was like the longest I had ever been alive. It was like 22 days. I was like, okay, I got my fucking bunny mitten. What do you call those? Ear muffs? That's what it is.
Yeah.
I was like, I have my ear muffs. I have like a thermal stone. I have fire. I have like fucking berry farm here. Like, I'm good to go. I'm gonna make it. And then I go to chop down a pine tree, and then it turns into a monster and chases me for 15 minutes until I die. And I felt like that was very unfair because I didn't even know that was a possibility.
So after that happened, I started constantly replanting when I was chopping down trees, and I haven't run into them again.
Oh, okay.
And it seems like that might help. I know there are certain things in that game that are affected by like how you do things, and it was like an angry tree spirit, so I figured there's probably like a deforestation element to it.
Oh, yeah, you might be right. I haven't experienced this, but there is in, I guess, this like Christmas version that's going on right now. If you do too many things that are considered like naughty, like killing bunnies and birds, Krampus will come and get you.
Oh, that sounds good.
It sounds good. I haven't seen it. I don't know what Krampus even looks like, but I'm like, okay, that's so fun.
I might have to check in on that game then if it's got a Krampus option.
I know. I'm excited about that.
Have you made it long enough to at least open up some of the other characters or anything?
I think so. I don't really know how many characters there are. I've just been like hosting my own online server, and at least with that option, I think you have access to pretty much all the characters. But I could be wrong. Because I have access to, I want to say like 10 or 15 different people, but I pretty much only play the one.
You probably have all of them then.
Okay.
I just know there's a couple characters that are really good for certain types of survival.
Oh, really? Yeah, I like playing I think is her name Willow? She's got the lighter.
Yeah, the pyro girl.
Where are you going?
I'm out for a little bit.
Okay, bye. Okay, thanks. Third unofficial member of the podcast has left because I'm too loud.
Well, you should have yelled, "Bring me back some coffee."
Oh, I should. Well, I don't need to anymore because I have an espresso machine.
But do you have enough coffee to do the espressoing?
I should. I think I do.
Just any chance I have to yell at somebody, I feel like is worth it.
I mean, I could have probably yelled something. I could probably thought of something, but
have a great time.
Have a great quiet time is what he called it.
Well, I mean, you know, I've got a fourth unofficial member showing up here eventually. I think I gave us enough time, but I'll probably have to yell at him too if it comes down to it. A lot of yelling. It's the only way to communicate, really.
I agree.
Yeah. Let's see. Well, did you have any other frustrations from this week? Because it sounded like from your opening that might have been part of your docket.
I have one thing, just something, speaking of yelling, that I just wanted to yell about for like 5 minutes. I have a client who has owed me around $200 for about 6 months. I would really like to be paid it because I need to do my taxes.
Yep.
And I've been emailing and calling this person, and like, you know me, so I feel like you know that for me to call a person, it has to be like very necessary.
Those are extreme circumstances.
Those are very extreme circumstances. I do not pick up the phone and call anybody unless they owe me $200. So I've been calling and emailing him for a long time, and a while ago I got him to pay like some of it, and then and then he was like, "Oh yeah, I'll pay you the rest at the end of the month." That didn't happen, obviously. But anyway, this is brought up because this person is Facebook friends with me.
Oh, that's helpful.
And it's super fun, and they constantly post like stupid motivational posts, like quotes and shit. And the latest one really got to me. All right, let me pull it up. This was from this morning. The quote was, "Stop being impressed by money, fame, and status. Instead, be impressed by those who treat other humans well in both good times and bad."
Okay. Well,
so
on the off chance that is a directed comment, that's pretty funny.
This person has been ignoring my emails like weekly for a lot of months. And
is it because you're both rich and famous? So
yeah,
you already have what you need?
Yeah. I mean, it's probably because he's off, donating millions of dollars to like people in need, and I'm off just making millions of dollars, being in my apartment on my laptop. So
I mean, we live in the United States, so we're rich. That's how I hear it.
Obviously. I don't need the money. I just want it. So yeah, that's a fun thing. This person's not a like regular client by any means. They were someone I worked with a long time ago, and then I did this thing for them. Normally, I have a policy of like, in just as putting this out there for any designer / creative person, get people to pay you like 50% upfront at least.
Yeah.
Like, please do that, because I knew this was going to happen. Not specifically with this person, but eventually. So my policy is just like some percentage deposit for this reason. So just as a general announcement, fucking pay people. God damn it.
As a tactic for shitty fine artists, which I feel I can speak to, if somebody gives you a project that you're like half interested in and their offer to pay is pretty low, just tell them that they can pay you when they get the project, because then your responsibility towards timing and things like that is nothing.
Right.
And if they really want something fast, they can come talk to you. But I only say that for jobs that are like literally things that won't impact your life at all. Otherwise, you should follow what you're talking about, which I would call good business. And what I'm talking about is the dregs. If you're in the dregs, maybe you can be a little loose with stuff.
I mean, that's fun too. I mean, the interaction in this particular situation was kind of loose anyway, because I knew this person through someone that I had worked for at a previous internship. So I had just kind of done like little things in the past, and it was just kind of a one-off thing. So at least it's only $200.
Yeah, at least that.
At least that. uh, I don't know. I want to I want to be paid, and I want to go to. It's annoying because everyone that I talk to about this is like, oh, just like go to a collections agency and have them follow this person around and get it.
Sure, that helps.
I'm like, okay, but obviously none of these people know me very well who have given me this advice, because that's a lot of like effort on my end.
Uh-huh.
And brain space that's going to take up for me. And I would pay $200 for this to never have happened. But, I guess I did. So it's
Yeah.
fine.
Prayers answered. Yeah, I don't know. The whole collection route also requires, like, I would assume anyway, strong paperwork. At least if you're poor. If you have money, you can probably get collections on somebody pretty much without anything. Because I've definitely had places that have no paperwork about me all of a sudden want my money, and it's not until you say that's not me or that's not money that I owe anybody that they'll even think about not trying to collect from you. So
yeah, I don't know. I don't really want to go that route just because I want it to be over. I think what I'm going to end up doing is like writing it off as a donation or something.
Yeah.
Whatever. But
I mean,
at least that's what my dad suggested.
if you can exist without getting it, that's probably the best option. Even though that sucks. Once again, you can email us with advice. What's that email?
Shit, what was it? We know our email. Don't question us. I know it.
That email is itsthisweekspodcast@gmail.com.
And the password is
it's thisweekspodcast@gmail.com. That's no spaces, no punctuation. It's this week's podcast.
Feel free to chime in with any business advice you have for me, because clearly I need it.
we need business advice.
Life advice.
We need your free donations. We'll take it. I don't know what they'd be, but
$200 maybe.
I don't have a PO box, but if the price is high enough, I'll get one. And if you want to drop off things at weird bars in Seattle, I'll get them there. I'll be there, almost guaranteed. Tell them it's for the guy who only gets the cheap stuff, and they'll know.
The guy who asks for a shitty whiskey and a beer, and then later on asks for whatever you got. Just give it.
Yeah, just say that guy. He's like skinny and fat at the same time, and like tall, but also like real weird. And he usually only shows up here with like also very strange women. Just ask that guy, and he'll probably be the right one.
Yeah, I feel like that's
a pretty good description.
I think so.
You got that weird skinny fat? Yeah.
I'm familiar with the concept, yes.
We'll give you that email again at the end. Maybe for later, I'll make a little drawn banner that I can just hold at the bottom of the screen to go with our no editing, so that people can see the email if they want it as well. And it'll like the videos cut us like in half and like put us side by side, so it won't show the whole thing, and that'll be perfect.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Well, that sounds really frustrating. Have I told you about the lady in college who taught me about bad business in the arts?
I think you might have mentioned this person, but
I probably did. Maybe this is an actual author by now, but I wouldn't be counting on it. So if this information was also told to me, I'm going to say like 8 years ago or so, as part of somebody else's project. And at this point, given that I was never paid anything or like given any sort of credit for the work I did, go ahead and steal any of these ideas. They're not good. So if you can make a book like this and just rush it out to market and she's still working on hers, then I'll have been paid in a certain way. So I was in college, like it was probably only like my third or fourth term of college, doing like heavier illustration based stuff like we'd gotten out of our intro classes. And I got contacted, I think it was even through the school initially, by a lady who lived in the same area that the college was in. And she said that she was an author making a children's book, and she wanted me to do the illustrations, but she wanted to like check and see if we were on the same page first.
Mm-hmm.
There was like very limited talk about pay, but it was clear that pay was part of it. This isn't just me saying like, I assumed pay would be part of it. It was like, we'll figure out what your pay is as we go, which, I mean, I'm a student, so like, that's just more food money. Like, I can't do anything with it other than exist anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm talking to this lady via email, and just sort of like figuring out the specifics. So this story, just so people get an idea of the kind of artistry I was expected to do, mostly had to do with a prince. Really weird. So she was very cagey about telling me her ideas. I kind of got the feeling that, like, with a lot of the, like, Harry Potter, I think, had pretty much was wrapping up. So it's like that's the general timeline. But then also the, like, Percy Jackson stuff and all that was like still in the middle of those things. So like
Okay.
it was prime stories about random kids or tweens being exceptional was like a big deal. This seemed like a very bad version of something like that, and also more of a children's book. So I don't know what the fuck she was thinking. But it had to do with a prince who was exceptional in some way. And the specifics that she wanted was, I want the prince to be like, it was like short and relatable, which is already like
Okay.
so generic is what you would like. Okay. It seemed like her emphasis was on like definitely like a Caucasian short generic character. So sort of starting from a Harry Potter.
Yeah.
But she had a very specific thing she wanted for this character, which was sort of big lips, and also really, really wet lips. And she was very insistent about this being part of this character. So, like, I kept trying to...
That.
No, I don't either. And I kept trying to make these, like, characters that were, like, I would make, like, a normal-looking kid with, like, sort of larger lips and then just, like, shade it. So it was, like, I mean, it kind of looks like lipstick, but it also is, like, you could get that effect if you wanted it.
Mm-hmm.
And this is, like, prior to color or anything. And the comments were, like, literally, like, not wet enough. And also, like, every time I would draw a kid that looked like a normal-ish kid, it would be, like, they look, like, too young or something. And then I'd make, like, a slightly older-looking kid, and it would be, like, the features look too old. And it's, like, there's no... At a certain point, I was making, like, the same kid with, like, eyes that were slightly more stern, and it was still getting like weird comments about stuff.
No.
And then the versions of the drawing that finally were the ones that she wanted were like the whole body was pretty normal, but the bottom lip was like big, like nose sized almost, and just like dripping with fluid essentially. And it was the worst stuff I'd ever drawn in a lot of ways. It looked like the angel statue, like cherub statues and stuff,
Mhm.
but like with a big wet horrible lip. It looked almost like a tongue sticking out.
Oh no.
And it was nothing that I ever really wanted. And like the general design that she was looking for seemed to be more painterly. So like the backgrounds being like big swashes of color and stuff, almost like almost they did like some older like movies that were animated about like the Arabian Nights and stuff like that. It almost looked kind of like that.
Okay.
And we finally got to this design that she was apparently interested in. And then she like cut communication for like 2 or 3 days and was like deciding on stuff, and then got a hold of me and was like, oh, I decided I'm going to go with something else, but I do want to pay you for your time. And at that point, I hadn't spent a ton of time on it, but I had reasonably spent like what would probably amount to like 3 or so work days, just like of seeing about these like things that she wanted and communications and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it was how much do you want to get paid is what she told me. And
Okay.
I lowballed it, and I was just kind of like, I don't know, like I'm not like expecting a lot of money. I'm still a student. Maybe just like I think I said something like what we would be expected to make for something like this, and I wasn't expecting that, but maybe like a certain amount of money per hour, and it could be like $1 or $2. Like I really didn't care. It was sort of one of those things of like, this is a dumb thing. This was pretty clear like a day in that it wasn't gonna really happen, and also like I hate your whole design ethic of this character. Like the character design is already terrible. Like envision it in your mind, and it's just bad.
Yeah.
The character profile was like very generous and like oh, this character helps everybody out, like this like weird like altruistic character that's just real wet, I guess, for whatever reason. And I basically just say, you know, I insinuate by a couple dollars per hour, like, you know, maybe like $50 or so at least would be nice.
Yeah.
And then I get an email back that says, oh, well, I definitely want to pay you for your time. Offers to pay me $5, and then gets my, like, what was it? It was, I didn't feel comfortable giving this person, like, my full information, but it was, like, I gave my address for, like, getting a check or something, essentially.
Right.
And they just sniffed me. Like, there was no communication after that whatsoever. It was just like, oh, okay, well, no money's ever going to come your way, just by the way that they were acting. Like, they just stopped entirely. And I sent another email like a week later that was like, I mean, are you going to send me this no money? But they didn't. I hope that they kept going with that book and lost money on it, because it sounds like a terrible idea, but it's really hard to say. Also, I could not get a read on how old this person was. because some of the stuff that they were saying made it sound like they were like maybe in their 30s, but like the idea sounds like something that a 90-year-old person would want, and
Right.
very strange. Anyway, so I guess the moral of this story is just do business like business is usually done, and don't like try to do something that's sort of fishy, because it's just not going to work out. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think there is a way that you can make that stuff happen unless you're just happening to be incredibly lucky at that time.
Right. Yeah. I just generally, unless it's a person that I know and am friends with, I'm probably not going to make any special exception for anybody and just be like, 50% at least up front, please, because I don't know you. And I just generally count on people being shitty, and that's usually accurate.
That's a good way to go with it. I've done a lot of shows that are just like my stuff at cafes or bars and stuff, and almost no cafe or bar will be like, oh, sure, we'll take the money for your painting and make sure they get it. Like, that's not their job.
Right.
But the thing that you don't realize before you start doing those shows is that if you're not somebody who is living close to that cafe or bar and somebody wants to buy your work, not only is it often unclear whether or not they can just buy it at the time or they have to wait till the show is over, but also the only place they know of to get a hold of you is that bar or cafe. So I've had I've had a moderate amount of meetings with just random ass people in like bars and cafes where like they'll like contact me via email or whatever I have for like my contact info and want to buy a painting, and then I have to like go talk to the bar or cafe and be like, so can I take this down now, or do you want it to be up for like the aesthetic until it's done? And then try to figure this stuff out, and then usually they don't give a shit, and it ends up being like, yeah, just take it off the wall, I don't give a shit. And then you go and you just like, while people are eating, you go take this thing off the wall, go sit in a booth with this person who you've never met, and they're like, so here's $150. It's like, all right.
I mean, I like that version too.
It's really weird though. Like, I've never actually gotten used to that, because it's just, that's part of why I'm working on a gallery show right now, because after doing group gallery shows where the place actually just says like, oh yeah, you sold it, they'll come get it from us at the end of the month, it's like, oh, thank Christ. Like, anything to not do that. But also you get surprised by the kinds of people who actually want to buy your work, because most of my work, I think, either appeals to like weird kids or like weird older people, and that's about it. And
just weird people.
Yeah, kind of weird people, but like not people who are in the right age range to be trendy still, because my stuff usually is like not that. And a lot of the people that I've sold to have either been like early 20s women, oftentimes like college students, or like stay-at-home mothers who for some reason are just way into whatever I've made. I've sold like almost no work to men that I've seen, at least. It's very weird. Like,
That's
I don't know.
It's
hard to tell who my art speaks to through that. And I definitely can't base it. Like, if I think of making art for those people, I don't know what that looks like. So I guess it's what I'm doing, but it is very strange. Like, I made a piece that was like some monster like hunched over a book. That was just there was no theme to it really. It was just very strange and like kind of large. And this person who came and bought it seemed like they were expecting a completely different type of person to have made it. It's almost the same aesthetic whenever I meet anybody. They're like, oh, you're like this? All right. I guess.
Okay.
Even the occasional fans that I will meet that are like just people who've seen my stuff and like it. That's what I call a fan, is somebody who doesn't hate the things they see, who come talk to me at like art things or whatever. That even is usually that demographic of people. It will either be like young women or older women, but not very often like middle ages. Like middle ages being like 20 to like 35. Whatever that says about life expectancy that I am looking towards. But it's always weird. Oh, did the third member come back? Did the third member come back? You darted off to the side for a second.
Oh no, you reminded me of the only painting that I've ever bought is one from an artist called Sam Pink. And okay. I was just thinking about like, I wonder what he thought of I wonder what his like demographic is, because that's interesting. I've never thought of it like that. If you're an artist,
demographics are weird because like for a business, if you're thinking of it as like something you want to do for long term, like I am, demographic is kind of important. Like you want to play to the people who actually like your work, but I never felt like the people who bought my stuff match any of the preconceptions that I have of somebody who would like that stuff. So it's confusing.
Huh. That's funny.
And then, like in my family, most of the people who really like my work are like, they're just the weird people that are in my family, and that makes sense to me. So, though I will say, I don't think anybody who is conservative has ever even shown slight interest in my work, whether it's in my family or not.
I mean that's a demographic. That's something.
Yeah, I guess leftists, or at least more progressive, is my demographic, and that seems okay. I'm down with it.
That makes sense. That's good.
Yeah. And that's been the art of business art.
The art of business corner.
Have you watched anything awful this week, or have you been working on other things?
I've been working mostly this week. I haven't had a lot of like watching time, and any time that I did have, I spent playing Don't Starve. But I did watch the thing that you sent me, the thing about Seal by what's his name, Vic?
Vic Berger's new show.
Yeah, I liked that. That was pretty good.
I'm looking forward to it. It looks like it's the same production company that does a lot of Adult Swim's stuff, which is perfect for that.
Yeah, I really like it, but watching through that, I like the editing style is funny, but half the time I was just like, holy fuck, did he really say that? Like, is that actual real footage they have to pick from? And yep, it is. It's real, but that part of it is fun.
Do you remember what it's called? It's like
I have it right here. I can pull it up. It's called What the Hell is Going On?
Okay.
With Vic Berger.
So I think this is going to be airing on probably late night Adult Swim, but it also looks, the first episode at least is on Vic Berger's channel, which is just his name. And I like the format. It's very, it almost has like a United States take on, who's the guy? My wife. you know, the funny man. It's got a little bit of the like interview with people who you don't give too much information to vibe.
Yeah.
And I think it works well because Vic Berger just looks like sort of a weirdo, but a totally everyday average weirdo. so he isn't like probably noticed by pretty much anybody as like putting together something that is more left leaning. And in this first episode, he's do you remember what the town is? It's a town that had steel, like a steel.
Pennsylvania, I want to say. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, and it's just like, if you're from places like that, it's just people that you're used to, but it is a really interesting, like, look at how they answer his, like, very softball questions about everything.
Yeah. It's interesting that different people, because I think he interviews a guy who's a professor in a university there, and the professor's like, fuck no, steel's not coming back, like that doesn't make any sense, and everybody else is like, hell yeah, steel's on its way back, baby.
Well, it's like, I think the professor is like, no, it's never coming back and it shouldn't. Yeah. And then I think there's like another guy who maybe worked at a steel mill or something.
Yeah.
Who says like, no, it's not coming back. Why would it?
Yeah.
But I think everybody else in that episode is like, yeah, it's coming back and it's dope. There's the two women that he just sort of briefly asks on the street who are like jogging or something, and they're like, that's never coming back. What are you talking about? But yeah, a lot of like crickly old dudes just talking about how the steel's coming back for sure, and that Mr. T, he keeps calling him, is going to bring back the steel industry, and nobody has like a reason why that's going to happen. It's just definitely happening.
For sure, it is. I think one of my favorite parts of it is his dad corner, which really reminds me of Pop's Secret corner. So yeah, I really like that.
Except his dad comes on the show just to like shit on him for like a couple minutes.
You never fucking cut grass. Your mom did. I did. Your wife
hair's
probably
looking
cuts
pretty
grass.
thin there.
I like a kind of disparaging dad corner.
Yeah,
that's fun.
I feel like dad corners could pick up in popularity, and that's always a good thing.
Yeah, there needs to be some.
Now we just need you to start up a mom corner at some point.
That would be. Actually, I should start a mom corner just for like expressions that she uses. It could be pretty short-lived, but she's from Kansas, so I, as a result of that, say a lot of very like Midwestern sounding things. But I'm not from Kansas, so I'll have to make a list. There's a couple of things that she says that are pretty funny. Also, my grandma, who is even more from Kansas than my mom is, so that would be pretty fun.
Yeah, the weirdest expressions in my family come from like Illinois, and it's mostly just things that are like needlessly folksy. And then I found out over time that a lot of Alaskans just kind of talk like Southerners, and I'm not sure why. So my like parents my parents are from New York and like northern Washington, respectively, kind of, at least most recently, but so much of my family from both sides just sort of is from Alaska in my lifetime that stuff filtered down into the rest of it.
That's funny. Every time Evan mispronounces something, he goes, "Oh, that's just my Alaskan accent." And I'm like, no, that's not.
There's no accent. Alaska just has dumb words sometimes.
He just sometimes will not. I can't think of a good example right now, but for whatever reason, pronounces things like he's just had a stroke, and and he blames it on that. So that's a fun. thing. Sorry, Alaskans.
Sorry, everybody, about what
Sorry,
you
everyone.
said.
Evan's blaming everything on you.
Yeah, Alaska's weird, so they can take it.
You're far away. They'll never know.
Yeah, they don't even have internet there, so they're not going to hear it.
Oh.
Well, I did watch some other stuff over here, and I think it's worth mentioning, maybe more as a warning than anything. But I have a habit, especially if people are over and I'm too tired to like really get a good conversation going, but I know that the TV will get a conversation going. And I've been watching this show that's already sort of weird and not too problematic, but it's called like Amagi Brilliant Park, and I think I probably mentioned it before. And it's just a bad anime about a bunch of assholes, and a bunch of them are like fairy folk, and they have to run a successful theme park. And the implications are that the like queen of the theme park is like about to die, also presented as like maybe late teens, early 20s elf girl, who the hell knows.
Okay.
So just a lot of weird
And she
shit.
is the queen of the park.
She's like the park's princess, maybe more.
Okay.
Not that is a huge difference, but it's real hard to tell what the hell's going on in that show. It seems like half the episodes are an excuse for like weird cheesecake episodes where they're like, hey, everybody's in a swimsuit now for no reason. It's like, cool, that doesn't make sense. But then in other episodes, it's just a bunch of like weird living mascot people that are like sitting in a bar, like getting drunk.
I like that.
There's some body switching where the mascot people wear something on their head to look like the main character, and then the whole episode is about how they keep going to this character's like finishing school on like separate days as the character while he's sick, and
Okay.
how they've like fucked all of his relationships up really hard, because like one of the mascots is like a hard drinking like asshole, and one of them is just a huge pervert, and then another one is just stupid. I think like there's no real like deep ideas in the show, but it is something you can have on. It's one of the shows that I will put on because I think it has an English track too, and so I'll paint and just have that running and occasionally look up and be like, what the fuck. So that's not even one I intended to talk about, but that is an option out there. But because I watch shit like that, I get like the darker entries in weird shit popping up on my suggestions. And one of them is called The Beautiful Bones, Sakurako's Investigation.
Oh.
And saw the first episode of that last night, in which a detached, weird, like indeterminate age woman and her like suspiciously young guy friend just find human remains and like murder victims, and she doesn't want to call the police because she wants to keep all the bones for herself, and the resolution to that episode seems to be that she knows so much about bones that she tries to convince the police to let her keep them, because the murder was too long ago for it to be illegal. But then there's also just a shot later of two people tied together dead on the beach that are definitely a murder. And it is incredibly hard to tell what they're going for in the show so far. Natalie, let's say official fifth member of the podcast, she was saying that it really seems like somebody in Japan was excited about the synopsis for what Bones was about, and then watched it and didn't like it, and then made the show that they thought it should be. And I kind of agree. It feels very
That
much
makes
like
sense. Yeah.
that. And then the other show, which is, it's hard to say if this is better or worse. It's probably worse. It's called Gugure Kakuri-san, and Gugure seems to be an exclamation. And then I think Kakuri-san is the name of a spirit, maybe. It is it's deeply problematic. I'll start with that.
Okay.
It is a, yet again, Japanese-style indeterminate age girl, not old, I'll say that. In one of the scenes, I'm pretty sure it shows her at school with one of those, like, backpacks that grade schoolers wear or whatever. So, like, definitely not old. And that adds more to the story of, I don't think this is a good show. We made it through 3 episodes of that, and we're cringing through most of it. But at the beginning, she is playing like a homemade, like Ouija board, basically, like a witch board kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And summons a like fox spirit to her house, and it looks like a teenage or like early 20s version of Sashomaru from Inuyasha, like not suave at all, and just sort of like a weird, like, similar design ethic, and that character like breaks into her house kind of, and says it's going to possess her, but then she like I don't know, convinces it that instead it should just hang around. It's a bad start, but also she seems to be convinced that she's not a person and that she's actually an animated doll, which is played off from the start like it's a weird psychosis. And then every time, and this is also a comedy, this is not like played off as sinister at all. And then every time it shows her alone in the house, she is sitting in like a dilapidated house / temple, like a shrine attached to like a small home. There's no parents, and it seems to be implying that her parents are either dead or left. And this character, like I said earlier, is like grade school age.
That's concerning.
So this fox spirit decides it's gonna like hang around and cook her food, because the only food that's in the house is tons and tons of different types of instant ramen in like a cupboard. Like it's completely packed full of it. And at the end of the first episode, the fox spirit tries to throw away all the ramen because the fox spirit's going to make food for each meal. And then she gets pissed off and like, I think she like rubs salt in its eyes or something and like banishes it, kind of like it just leaves. And then she summons it back to hang out, I guess. Another problematic thing, it's very clear by her character design in the heavily comedy like portions of the show that it is like basically one step up from a stick figure like body, just like a little girl with like a bowl haircut and like no definition of any limbs or anything. It's just like a putty person, and it works really well for like joke stuff, but most of the jokes skirt the line of like acceptable jokes or they're fine, and it's, if it was just a show about how good ramen is, that would be fine. But then in the second episode, it starts pushing this weird narrative of like it starts showing more of like how young this girl is, but it also starts showing weird scenes of her at the house alone where she's not undefined and she's like in a much more detailed outfit of the outfit she wears, and it's like kind of this weird camera angle of like leering at her. And definitely like grade schooler. And then at the end of the second episode, it brings in another character that is, I think, the spirit of a dog that was a stray that died outside. And it's like very explicitly into her, and like refers to her as his love and all this stuff because she like gave the dog an umbrella or something and like gave it some food while it was astray outside. So now there's this weird sexual tension that's being forced in by this third character, and the fox spirit character is like defending her, I guess, also still fully a comedy. And at this point, it has now stepped into like the most Japanese show you can have of just like none of this is acceptable, but it's being played for laughs. So I don't know what they're even trying to do with it. And I'm afraid to watch more of it because I don't know how far they are going to go with this shit because they are like really pushing it, and it's like 3 episodes. And it's making me fight my urge of watching bad things. Like, I don't know what to do with it. I do want you to watch it and tell me how creepy it is from your perspective, because it's very creepy from my perspective. And it introduced another character at like the end of the 3rd episode, I think, that is, I think, another dog spirit, but this one's drunk and even older, so I don't know.
Oh no.
Also, they define that these spirits can change sex at will. So the weird dog spirit that shows up in the 2nd episode just spends like half an episode as a woman.
Okay.
And it's really unclear why. But they do walk into a room in the house that it has made tons and tons of dolls that look like the main character in different sizes. And that's like its room, I guess. So I don't know.
Is that the one that's obsessed with her, made all the dolls?
Yep.
Oh.
There is blood in the show.
Okay.
There's like
when?
Like when the fox beats up the dog occasionally. At a point, the dog splits into a whole bunch of little tiny spirits that are like, it looks like maybe hand-sized, but like they start coming out of its head and stuff and like crawling around and making more. And then they all pile on top of the little girl. And it's like this big roiling mass of weird dolls. And then the fox spirit comes in and uses a pan to hit them all to the moon. And then it starts a commercial break style thing, and it shows the moon with a pile of dolls on it. I don't know what that means, but it sure seems like kind of molesty. So it's hard to say how much of this I'm going to watch. But I kind of want to watch more of it just so I can talk about it and warn people about it, maybe.
I'm interested. I want to see where... I'm kind of with you. I want to see like how far they take it, but also I'm scared.
Yeah, I'll send you the name, and that's for anybody who wants to look for it. It's on Hulu at least, probably other places, but it's Goo Goo Ray ! Kokuri-san, and I don't think anything else has that title or close to it, so it'll probably autocorrect whatever you write. And I'll send you the actual title so you can look for it directly too.
Okay.
But
I just want to look at like the art. So I definitely totally fucked up the name because I'm not getting anything.
Okay, Gugure.
Yeah, I had already messed up.
And then, yeah, just look at the design of the main character. Like it's, at least in the more front-facing work, it's very non-sexualized.
Yeah.
so it's even more jarring. It's like when the cats take their clothes off, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, I shouldn't be watching this. It feels like that a little bit.
Yeah, this is the design of the main character is like not at all what I had pictured based on what you were saying was happening.
Like, it looks like a marionette almost.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, that's concerning, and I'm definitely gonna have to do some research.
Okay, good. Yes, definitely watch some of this, get uncomfortable, and then we'll talk about our conclusive feelings maybe next week. Because it's a weird one. I don't know what to think about it. I'm pretty sure I don't like it. That's clear, at least.
I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
I don't know that I'll like it, but it'll be interesting to find out.
Mm-hmm.
There's some interesting fan art of this also.
Oh, that seems like a dangerous road to go down. Maybe.
I'm gonna stop. I wouldn't want to spoil anything.
Yeah, you don't want to spoil anything. At one point, when I wasn't paying as much attention, it did show the main character in a wedding dress, but I think that was in a fantasy that the dog was having. So,
okay.
if any indication of what I know about nerd culture on the internet is true, there's some bad fan art of this stuff, so it's probably best to just stay away.
Just leave it.
Yeah.
But this sounds like just the most Japanese that anime could possibly be.
Yeah. There's been a lot of talk last night with friends and like this week in general about the whole like localization and how ridiculous it is that people get pissed off when characters in video games and stuff get aged up. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I don't remember, but I feel like I've heard that the age of consent in Japan is like not high comparatively. I want to say, why don't you look it up, actually?
I'm curious now, so I gotta...
Yeah. Why don't you use your computer to look up the age of consent in Japan?
Yeah, let's put me on a list. Let's do that. Oh no. The age of consent in Japan is 13 years old.
Fuck, I thought it was maybe 14. 13's worse, so...
13 is worse. That's bad.
So what I'm saying is... when there is a 14-year-old character in a video game and they sexualize it, when it comes to the US, they say, oh, this character's 18 now, because that's not horrible for people in the US to hear. Mm-hmm. It's still creepy, but it should be about the same amount of creepy as it is in Japan, you would assume, even though they're talking about children and we're talking about children. There is a difference between 13 and 18.
Yeah.
And I have talked to several people this week about like things that have come up. Mostly it ends up being, especially after working at Nintendo, things that come up about like, well, they keep aging up these characters, and it's like, they should. And like, honestly, if they aged them up before they came over, that would be okay with me too. One of my favorite RPGs, Persona 5, has a character that is a potential love interest option that is, I think, 14, maybe 15, and your character is supposed to be like 17, and it's already like, okay, I get it, but that's weird. The part that's even more problematic is there's another love interest character that is like 38 or something, and your character is 17, and they just play it like, what a sexy guy.
They just can't get enough of you.
And the beginning of that game, the main storyline of the first character you meet, and like you do a bunch of like, it's basically like going inside of somebody else's like state of mind, and you have to like fight the evil ideas. Like that's in essence what Persona does. The first person that is like the castle you go to, the whole thing is that they're a teacher who is like trying to get with a student. So you like have to go fight their like evil side to like try and defeat this weird like it's not played like you're actually like defeating something in their head exactly. It's played like there is a separate evil entity that's in there that you're fighting. But it's then turning around after that point in the game and just saying like, but why don't you date a teacher? What's the problem? It's a girl teacher and you're a boy. You can fuck that.
Like, that makes sense.
And I love that game, and I hate all of that shit. But
yep.
I guess you just sort of look the other way sometimes with Japan, and I don't know how long that is acceptable.
I don't know. It would be interesting / probably terrible to do some research on like why is that a thing? Like when did that become a cultural I don't know, something that shows up in their media a lot, like sexualizing children. Why is that a thing?
Well, and every time I hear about stuff that's like more publicly acceptable of that nature, it's either the US or Japan or like Russia, and I think it's all places that like have sort of a weird interest in Japanese media. But like the people I know of from China where Japanese media is like sort of scoffed at a little more, even if they like some of it, I don't get that feeling from like their general stuff. Yeah. So I don't know if that means anything. It's just sort of a weird like, I wonder if there is a way to get people to just stop being gross, and I don't think there is, but it would be cool if there was.
No. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'm gonna have to watch this anime and figure that out for myself.
That's Gugure Kakuri-san. If you want to see some creepy shit, you should go check it out.
That reminds me that I forgot about this, but I did actually watch something this week, and that was I watched more of The Guild.
Yeah, did they drop any more F-bombs?
Not. I don't remember, honestly. I don't know. I can't. That show, like, I don't know how it was broken up when it was a web show, but on Netflix, the episodes are for fucking ever long. They're like an hour long.
Oh, so I rewatched the first episode of that when you were talking about it. Mm-hmm. That was a full season, and wherever it had those breaks where she was talking into the camera, that was it's been a long time since that show was on the like just internet, but I want to say that's how it closed. Like that was the sign off.
Oh, so those are like.
So that's the end of the episode. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Like, yeah, the episodes now what they have on Netflix are really freaking long, and apparently I'm on episode 3.
Yeah, so you're on season 3.
Yeah, that's what it says. It's just so horrible.
Yeah.
Like grating to watch and also super problematic.
Yeah, everything in it, like it had been. I want to say when that was out, it was still pre like super bad era. Like it was like comedy can kind of do whatever it wants, and people will still think it's funny. Vibe. And there's just like I even like some of the people who came out of that show, but rewatching bits of it is just like this feels like it came from an alternate universe where this was acceptable.
Yeah, I mean, even in the, like, I don't know what episode it was, but in that first season, like, oh, fuck, what's his name? Zabu? The Indian character?
The guy who comes to her house?
Yes.
Yeah.
They have, like, a very, very racist and deeply weird scene with his mom. and
Uh-huh.
she just has like horrible interactions with everyone, and yeah, it's just deeply weird and uncomfortable.
Yep.
Uh,
There's
I
like
don't know. There's so
every
much
every
wrong. Like,
single form of shaming you can have is like in that show. Uh,
yeah,
it really does feel, especially going back to it, like a show that was made uh, when people were like just figuring out, oh hey, maybe we should pay attention to how we talk about things, and
yeah.
that was like the comedic response to like, no, we shouldn't.
Nuh-uh. Uh, I I knew it was gonna be really interesting when they like kicked off the show with someone trying to hang themselves with an extension cord because that
Uh-huh.
was Abu
Yeah.
because Codex didn't like him. Um, I do really enjoy their some of their dialogue with just the hyper nerdiness of it. It's funny.
I was reminded that that wasn't where it happened, but my weird affinity for the bitchy Asian character and everything that I've ever watched, I think came partially from that show.
That makes
Uh,
sense.
because I even have friends who are that person, and I don't know why it's always fine with me when like certain people are bitchy and it's funny. Uh, but like it's some weird thing in my head that just said that's fine.
That's fine. I like
Uh,
that.
if you've ever played Until Dawn, there's a character in that that's like, I can't remember her name. I don't think it's Ashley, but there's a character in that that is that stereotype exactly.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
that. Do you remember her name?
no, but I'm gonna look it up because
Okay.
I really liked that game actually, and I
Yeah, it's a good game. We played it over the course of an entire night on
oh
Halloween
really.
when it came out. Natalie actually played through the whole thing, and we almost got everybody to survive. Uh, but we didn't know at the
Really?
end you had to get everybody out of the house before it exploded.
Oh
So
yeah.
we just got like one person out and then it exploded.
Like, fuck you, everybody else. Where is the? I'm on the Wikipedia trying to find just like a cast, but it's not. I don't care about the critical response. I want to know who's in it. They did a pretty okay job making the characters look like the celebrity people who were supposed to be in it.
Yeah, some better than others, but overall pretty good. They all had a little bit of that, like their mouth and teeth and stuff are wrong. They're still video game, but
The eyes are just deeply unnerving.
yeah.
Um, I think that's the last thing I remember Hayden Panettiere being associated with, other than
Yeah.
like proactive.
God, she's got
uh,
clear skin though. It's really great.
yeah, that's true. Okay, it's not Jessica. That was the blonde, sexy lady. Is it Emily? I think it was Emily.
Yes, it's Emily. So
Yeah.
Emily is the only character I wanted to survive. I didn't care about any of the other characters. And I think part of it was because, like, even though she was totally an asshole, I know enough people who are, like, at least, like, I guess that's what it is. I know enough people who are like that, where they talk the same way, but they aren't a piece of shit. So my assumption when I see people like that is that they have a specific type of like humor and shittiness, but they're not
Yeah.
actually a bad person. And that's probably going to get me killed someday. I'm just going to like trust somebody who's a total like piece of shit because I'm like, oh, the stereotype. I remember that. Yeah, you're fine. And
Yeah.
then I'll just get like pushed in front of traffic or something. That's how it'll happen.
I mean, probably.
Probably. It's better than the other ways to go.
Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of worse ways.
Mm-hmm.
I do like I really liked about that game exploring all the different ways to make people die. That I want that job. I want to
Yeah.
scheme different ways to kill video game characters.
I remember I think it's Emily's boyfriend. If you miss certain prompts, he like gets half his face torn off or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right.
There's a lot of that. There's a lot of like decapitation options and stuff like that in that game.
Mm-hmm. There are some pretty creative ones. And now I want to replay it.
Do you own it?
No, you just reminded me about something I'm really mad about from like 2 years ago.
Okay.
My brother wanted to get the game, and then he, instead of getting the game, he bought like a digital download of it, and then later deleted it off of our PS3 or whatever it was. And he won't let me have access to anything, and so I could never get it back and play it again.
Cool.
So that was something I was mad about approximately 3 or 4 years ago.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
I think we played it and a friend of mine bought it, but I think I've gotten like PlayStation Plus stuff forever because I like the dregs. I'll take whatever trash I can get for cheap. So I usually buy like a year's worth of that around like Christmas when I have a little bit of money anyway.
Yeah.
And then that's like a couple of games a month for just having that service. And they put that on it. So I just have a copy of it.
That's cool.
I also have like a copy of a lot of other things that are like popular, but things that I never really gave a shit about, like the Drake's Fortune games or whatever. Uncharted, that's what those are.
Yeah.
And some other stuff that is actually good that I didn't expect to own, but that's one of those weird services that if people aren't like really into playing a bunch of stuff in their off time, I would never suggest they get those game services, but it's come in handy for me at least.
Yeah, I actually completely forgot that was a thing.
Yeah. Also, if you were to get a PlayStation 4, you could get that game now for like $5 because it's always on sale.
Why?
Because it sold really well. I think it actually did like well, and nobody like buys it because there's new games that they've made.
Mm-hmm.
They made a new game where it's kind of like Until Dawn, but it's on like a ship. And there's like ancient ghosts or some weird shit. And when that was coming out, I think they started discounting their old stuff.
Okay. That makes sense. Just a side note, there's a bunch of articles that people wrote talking about how much they want Emily to die and on Twitter.
Nice. That makes me feel like I'm on the winning team at least.
Yeah. Emily, who is the worst, deserves to die in Until Dawn. That's a good article.
That's one of the only people who survived our playthrough.
I think same for me. I think that I wasn't able to save that many people, but I think she was one of them because I liked her character too.
Yeah. It's also the age range, I think, helps that they put them all in, because when you just use your own like judgment on like what people are doing in the game and like age them to whatever you are, then of course that character seems like a total piece of shit. But when you use the appropriate age and they're like teenagers that are like just out of high school or whatever, it's like, why would it not be like this exactly? Like everybody's upset because this one character is just sort of like everybody else you would expect, and then a bunch of other ones are honestly giant losers like I would be. Like, it makes sense that people wouldn't like that, but it also, I think, got overblown because of the way that it didn't reference any of the like real world stuff that was going on. But that may just be me.
Oh no, your screen just froze on you like this.
Oh,
no,
good.
It was really good. I
Sort
tried
of
to take a screenshot, but I was too slow.
Sort of a Dark Souls praise the sun kind of thing. That's good.
Yeah.
Well, we are heading into the hours where the internet's going to get worse, so that's probably just going to happen.
Yeah. I think actually it adds a nice quality to our podcast, unlike most podcasts that don't have laggy, weird breaks in them.
I'm going to start each podcast. I got the sock this time. I'm going to bring in some trash cans and start piling them up behind me. And my goal is to just have a full border, even if you don't see everything, that's just trash.
I actually do. My desk is right next to our trash can. So there is, just out of frame, a lot of trash. So that's totally doable.
Are those wine bottles behind you, or are those syrup flavors for coffee?
Those are sake bottles.
Oh, even better.
Ooh, yeah. They're not all recent, just so you know. I didn't drink 3 bottles of sake in 1 week, although that's not exactly like out of the norm.
If there was one thing, that Tanuki sake, the like really cheap stuff, I could drink a fuck ton of that if I had it. That stuff's great.
I think that one is, I want to say Gaikakan.
Okay. Yeah.
Does that sound familiar?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a slightly different word, but I know exactly what you mean. It's like one step up from like the Choya sake.
Yeah, it's very cheap.
The Tanuki stuff I'm talking about is below both of those. And because of that, it seems like it works kind of like any wine, where it's like a little bit sweeter and the alcohol content's still there, but it's like it's closer in taste to like what you would imagine a juice would be. And it's just really good. Like it's like the wine cooler of sake.
Okay, I'll have to try and find some of that. Actually, I bet they have it at the co-op here, because they surprisingly have a pretty good selection of sake.
You can get it in like I want to say it's like a quart, and it's like a carton.
Oh.
And it has a Tanuki on it, and one of those is like $20. And then you can get like $7 and like $3 versions, and the $3 version is still like a good size, but the cartons are like party sized, and I totally have considered just buying those for like a good weekend or something, because it's well priced, let's say. And all the H Marts that are in this area have it, so it's easy enough to find.
I might have to do some Amazoning. I don't know that we'll have it, but interesting. I definitely would like to have a quart size jug of sake just on me at all times. That would be good. I still need to find Nagori sake that I like. I like the cloudy ones. I guess, are they just unfiltered? I'm not sure. But I like the cloudy ones better because they're smoother to me. And sometimes they taste good.
I think that cloudy and less distilled are essentially the same thing for that stuff. So either one will probably find it.
Yeah.
I have a picture of the carton so you can get an idea of what I mean, but it'll take me a second. Where I take too many pictures, I'm starting to realize. I have a lot of pictures of bad cakes.
Ooh.
I have some pictures of Jack Sparrow.
Cake corner.
Always got cakes for Cake Corner. Yeah, there's a lot of trash in here. Meh. Well, that might be might be too long of a chore to try and find a picture of this, unfortunately. But rest assured, I took pictures in a grocery store of some alcohol that I would like to drink.
I believe it. We have at our local Winco about 3 different varieties of sake, which is 3 more than I thought Winco would have. And yeah, and one of them is actually like I don't know what brand it is, but it comes in like a little clear glass container, and then the top is just like a aluminum pull tab sort of thing.
Yeah.
And that one's pretty all right, and it's cheap. And then there's the guy can.
Yes.
And then there's one other one, but I usually just go for the Kaikon. I'm gonna learn how to pronounce that today.
It's probably a good idea.
I feel like if I just commit and pretend like I know what I'm saying, that would be more acceptable.
Yeah, I wish that I could help you with pronunciation, but I cannot.
I have to enter my birthday to get to their website.
Oh, well.
It lets you in if you say you were born in 1900.
Okay.
I'm legally dead, but I want to know about Gaikikan.
I mean, you're probably about the same age as the oldest person. I want to say it was close to this, but I think you still would have outlived them by a couple years.
I think so. Ooh, they have cocktail recipes. That's cool. That has never even crossed my mind. The fanciest that I get with sake is like heating it up.
Yeah, I usually heat it up. I like it, the flavor of it better when it's sort of aromatic like that.
That's my go-to winter comfy drink.
I have sent this picture to the email that has replaced your phone number in my phone for whatever reason.
I'm so mad about that. I don't even know. I don't know why, because I like have the SIM card from my phone. That's very nice.
Yes.
I love that.
It's a good amount and it's a good price. If you look, the one next to it is like not expensive. The glare blocks the other one, but the one next to it is $10. So it's $10 for the smaller carton, which is like it's bigger than it looks, and the larger carton is like 17 or so. And it's quite a bit. Like it's an amount that you could have some fun with.
Yeah, that's a freaking lot of stuff. And they've got a character that looks a lot like the raccoon from Animal Crossing, which I super appreciate.
Well, those are Tanuki too, so it is that.
Oh, is that like a thing that I'm just not aware of? Okay, probably.
Look up Japanese raccoon dog.
Okay.
That's what it's based off of.
They're so cute.
I love the mythology that they have a ball sack that can stretch to any size and can look like anything. So they can. There's like one of my favorite versions of that is one turns its ball sack into a haunted house and just hangs out inside the haunted house.
Yeah.
That's always a good option.
Yeah, you're right. These there are some really unsettling statues of these. Oh my god.
Are you seeing any of the ones where they pull it from behind over the top like a hood?
No, I found something better.
Oh,
Oh
good.
my god. Wow, this is a whole other part of the internet I'm totally unaware about. Okay, here we go. This is important. All right, I have two images for you.
Okay, we'll see how Skype deals with that. Probably well. Oh, yep. There's one. That's I have seen a statue just like that for sale near me.
Yep.
Oh boy, that's a lot of them. But yeah,
Yep.
I remember when I was younger, I used to think that those were feet, and they're not.
I would have too if if you didn't tell me, but now I know. And that's great.
And that's exactly how it should work.
That's what I wanted. I didn't know that Tom Nook was not just a raccoon. Now I know that Tom Nook is hiding some monstrous balls.
Hey, that's why he feels comfortable charging that much.
He feels comfortable making me take out like a $90,000 loan on a small house.
Uh-huh.
The ball that raccoon.
Let's see.
Oh no! Oh no!
Oh, are you finding some of the good
too
images?
Far. I scrolled too far.
Yeah.
I scrolled into the butt plug part of the internet.
Oh no, you don't want to go butt plug deep. You gotta watch out for that.
I don't want it. Oh god. Okay. Closing that tab. Goodbye forever.
That's okay. I got some special deliveries for you. Add files. This is the sound of me adding files to Skype. All right. I'm sure there's probably like a dip in quality when these come through too. It's always nice.
Oh my god.
Yeah, you like these old paintings?
What the hell? Okay, the first one for all podcast listeners is a depiction of a tanuki holding a monstrous sack of balls, hitting a group of people. They look like they're supposed to be businessmen because they're holding these suitcases, and one of them is like falling on his rear and is like really upset about it. The one next to him is like screaming, and the guy on top is like super jacked about the situation. He looks pretty stoked, actually. And the other one, his balls are getting beaten on like bongo drums.
Yeah. It's I forget what those drums are called. The ones that you hold the sticks to the side and hit it like it's a big bass drum.
Yeah. By a group of foxes.
Well, so I think that that's just supposed to be like having fun. I don't think that's like a problem. But that symbol that he has on the ball sack is what they put on a lot of the drum heads. So I think it's just supposed to be like, we're using this giant ball sack instead of a drum.
Yeah.
I also like how it's just kind of wedged up between some sticks. Like, this will work out.
This is good. This is comfy. That's how I like my balls, is wedged between sticks.
I can say as an owner of a ball sack, none of that seems good. That all seems like a big problem.
Yeah, it doesn't seem nice. The placement or the what's happening.
Yeah.
Seems all around bad. Well, wow, I learned so much today.
Yeah, I think we've really done a lot today. This week's podcast ended up being about Japan more than I expected.
Yeah.
And all of the problems therein.
All roads lead to Japan, and they're really problematic. Age of consent and Scary raccoon balls.
Yep. That's true. Well.
Yeah, I think we did it.
Pajabbers.